Hey guys, we're gonna do something for our shoulder external rotation or going back. So this is internal and going all the way back is external. It's a really great way. You can use yoga blocks, books, whatever you have to raise up, and you just do it prone or laying on your tummy, and you can do both at the same time, which is really, really great. So it's super more efficient. I'm going to use what I have, which I'm at home. So I have a couple of my kids' puzzles. It works perfectly fine. So a lot of people, this is going to be more than enough. But if you've been doing it for a while, then you might need to go a bit higher. So it all depends on your tissue. And so when we set up, we're going to have our arms like this, slightly below. So you see about 90 degrees and slightly below, but we're going to be face down. So you're going to set that up in a way that works for you. And what you're going to feel as it comes back here, you'll feel it through the front and feel it through the back, basically all around this shoulder there. And you're going to be pinning that elbow down. So I'll take you through that. And we won't do the full 2-minute stretch. This is a Pails and a rails. So you hold a position for 2 full minutes. After 2 minutes, we're going to contract the tissue going this way. So we're going to resist into the ground or into our blocks. So if you, actually that is, if your tissue is too tight, the ground is also enough. You can just do flat, right? Depending on where your range is. If your external is actually really quite poor right now, then just flat on the ground is also good. Okay, so we're gonna do a 2-minute stretch. We're gonna contract the tissue into the ground, so it's isometric. We're not gonna move, we're gonna stay at our end range, ramping that up to the greatest effort, holding for 15 seconds. And then our second set is gonna lift. We're gonna be trying to lift off. We won't lift off because we should be at end range. And we're actually going to hold that for 15 seconds. That's your full Pails and rails. Then I would say to you, do 2 sets if you can, if not more, depending on how your tissue will allow. The first time, always just do 1 to 2 sets. And once you get used to this exercise, you can try a little bit more. What we're trying to do is open up more external rotation. And if you have full external rotation when you're doing stuff overhead, etc., pull-ups, chin-ups, anything you have, shoulder press overhead, you will have good health in your joints and not compensating, okay? So we're gonna set that up. Arms are gonna be here, so your blocks need to be somewhere around that range. I'll bring myself slightly back so you can see them a bit. There we go. Perfect. So we're gonna set up down. I'm gonna be face down. Again, arms at 90, slightly below. My fists are on top of these blocks. And then I'm gonna be bringing, you can see my elbow trying to aim down. Now, when you do it, if your head is straight down, it will intensify the stretch in your tissue. So if you need to, you can just put a block under your head and then it won't be so hard, right? So all ways to actually intensify this. We're gonna bring this down. So I'm gonna bring my head down. I'm trying to bring my elbows down. And we're feeling that stretch through the front of the shoulder, a little bit underneath, in the back, depending on where your tissue's tight. A lot of times people say to me, oh, I don't feel it in that area. And now a glute stretch is per se aiming at the glute, but your glute tissue is continuous with all the other tissue around. And if your QL or lower back or other parts of your hip are tight and actually they take precedent, then you will feel it in those tissues. Eventually you will feel it in the glute, but actually all stretches, you're gonna feel it where your tissue's tight. So remember that when you're doing these kind of exercises, you'll feel it where you're tight. So we would hold here for 2 minutes. Let's skip ahead and say we've done 2 minutes. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stay here where my elbows are. If I can touch the ground, I'm touching the ground. If I can't, that's fine. We're just aiming to keep the elbows down. And then I'm going to start going down. So my shoulder is gonna try and push down into that block or that book or whatever you're using. So I'm tensing, take a breath in, radiate my body, and I'm starting to push that down, ramping it up to your greatest effort. 20, 40, 60, 80. Hold that, making sure you keep your head in the right position. Don't move it like I am for the video because you will feel different tensions. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, while keeping my arms where they are, I'm thinking about trying to lift off my arms. I shouldn't actually be able to lift them off if I'm at end range. I'm just tensing all the tissue on that back side, back of the shoulder, back of the arm, everything. Holding again for 10-15 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Breathe and let your tissue relax. Now, to intensify the stretch, you can always raise blocks and put your hands a little further up, elbows coming down, and then we can always take anything out of our head and bring it down, right? So depending on where you are, we can intensify the stretch. So if I show you this again from the side, you guys can see that set. So if I'm here in that setup, I'm laying down, my fists are here, and then I'm trying to bring those shoulders down. You hold for your 2 minutes, you do your Pails or contract the tissue you're stretching, ramping it down to your greatest effort, holding for 15 seconds, and then you do your rails, lifting off, holding for 15 seconds. That is your external rotation. So we're working on our shoulder going backwards, right? And for normal joint health, you need to be working on both internal and external. If your shoulder doesn't move, where actually if you have to do this independently, you will not have a healthy joint. So I would highly recommend you work on internal and external along with shoulder cars. We'll see you again soon.